Hello everyone, today we'll be discussing the Haitian Revolution and its impact on world history. History is one of the course at the University of the South Pacific called 20th Century World is. It studies important world events and changes during the 90s, including wars, revolution, colonialism, independence movement, and the Cold War. The Haitian Revolution was one of the most important revolutions in world history because it was the first successful slave revolt that led to the creation of an independent black republic. The revolution took place in the French colony of Saint Domingue, now known as Haiti, between 1791 and 1804. Enslaved Africans fought against French colonial rule, slavery, and racial oppression. Leaders such as Toussaint Louverture and Jean-Jacques Dessalines became symbols of resistance and freedom. The Haitian Revolution is also important to the Pacific Islands because it challenged European colonialism and inspired anti-colonial movements around the world. Although the Pacific Islands were geographically far from Haiti, both regions experienced the effects of imperialism, exploitation, and struggle for self-determination. Before the revolution, Saint Domingue was one of the richest colonies in the Caribbean because of sugar and coffee plantations worked by enslaved Africans. The French colonies used brutal labor system and enslaved people faced violence, punishment, and loss of freedom. In 1791, enslaved Africans began a major uprising demanding freedom and equality. The Haitian Revolution was significant because it ended slavery in Haiti, created the first independent black republic in the world, challenged European colonial powers, inspired future anti-slavery and anti-colonial movements, demonstrated that oppressed people could resist and gain freedom. The revolution frightened colonial powers because they feared similar rebellion in other colonies.
In addition, the Haitian revolutions can be connected to the Pacific Islands came under the control of European powers such as Britain, France, Germany, and later the United States. Colonial governments controlled land, labor, trade, and political systems in the Pacific. Like Haiti, Pacific Islanders experience exploitation and loss of autonomy. For example, the first one, Fiji experienced British colonial rule from 1874 to 1970, and the last one is indigenous Hawaiians lost political sovereignty after Americans' involvement in the overthrow of the Hawaiian Kingdom. The revolution also contributed to global discussions about race, freedom, and human rights. These ideas later influenced independence movements across Africa, Asia, and the Pacific. Pacific Island societies have their own histories of resistance against colonialism. For example, 1. Tamil movement in Samoa peacefully resisted New Zealand colonial rule. The last one is independence movement in Fiji, Papua New Guinea, and Vanuatu sought political self-determination. The Haitian Revolution remains important today because it reminds people that freedom and equality often require sacrifice and resistance. In conclusion, the Haitian Revolution was a major turning point in global history. It ended slavery in Haiti and created the first independent black republic. The revolution challenged colonialism and inspired oppressed peoples around the world. Although Haiti and the Pacific Islands are geographically distant, both regions share experiences of colonial domination and struggles for self-determination. The Haitian Revolution can therefore be understood as part of a wider global history of resistance and independence that also connects to Pacific Islands histories.